How quickly things can change in life. After having tasted the finest wines, serving international cuisine, and enjoying fashionable clientele at Mönchspost, I was drafted by the German army, the Bundeswehr, back to the eastern border with Soviet-controlled Czechoslovakia. Behind these gates, my life would be quite different for the coming 15 months. I now was a soldier. 3 months of base training, learning how to march, how to crawl, followed by practice at the gun range. We were trained with the G3 by Heckler and Koch chambers at 308 and 762. I might not have been the best shooter, but I looked good. The cell phone wasn't invented yet, so we were trained the Morse code under chemical attack conditions, my roomies and I, on the day of graduation. Because of an administrative mistake, I was transferred to nearby Camp Weiden, which housed the regional headquarters and a special training facility for competitive biathlon. Because I was a good skier, the recruiting office must have thought I also was good in cross country and shooting for some reason. Well, I was not, but I was good in running a restaurant. So the sergeant major asked me to run the officers' cantina, where mid-ranked personnel, my immediate superiors, had their lunch. I proved to be very organized and efficient. They liked the fact that I was able to handle separate checks with exact change just in time before they had to return to service. It enabled them to squeeze in one more card game before reporting back to duty. A month or so later, the position of personal driver to General Dr. Schwab, the regional commander at the time, became available. Due to my good manners, politeness, and organizational skills, I was asked if I was interested. Boy, was I ever. Just like at Mönchspost, I now would enjoy special privileges. Military vehicles with special markings under my command and better use of uniform. I also liked the official and highly ranked events I now was involved in, even if only by parking the car and having to wait for hours. However, experiencing the battlefield front row from the comfort of the general's limousine or four-wheeler was an extraordinary treat. The raw power, weight, sound, and speed was something phenomenal. I saw one of these tanks backing up during a convoy, flattening a parked Volkswagen Golf once. Apparently, the tank crew didn't even notice it. Participating in long marches, technical service on rainy days, or even taking cover in potato fields was not so much of interest to me anymore. To avoid such unpleasant activities, I made sure to always be quick to point out that the general might need me when asked to participate. You see, I was at the bottom of the ranking food chain. My direct superiors were responsible for my everyday schedule, but it was me who had exclusive access to the upper class. That's why the sergeants didn't quite trust me, but neither did they have the guts to inquire about the general and his schedule. That was the administrational loophole I enjoyed to play quite successfully. After a while, though, the sergeants whom I had served food and drinks not too long ago grew quite suspicious, and when it came to promotions, I was intentionally left out. I was not made private first class. To be honest, I didn't like that at all, because that extra stripe on my shoulder was very important to me. To rectify the situation, I went over to headquarters and asked to speak to the general. I knew that he was not a man of subordinate details, so I had to make it personal to him. I appeared a bit shaken and began to apologize for a little driving mistake I had made a couple of days earlier. Innocently, I asked if that was the reason for not promoting me. He looked at me with bewilderment, not knowing what I was talking about. "Mary, get the Master Sergeant, 4th Division on the phone for me." A minute or so later, I virtually could hear the Master Sergeant's heels slam together on the other side. after learning that my general would take it as a personal insult if his driver was not promoted by 1400 Zulu the next day. Well, what do you know? At high noon, the entire base personnel had to march up in formal dress code again, so that now Private First Class Preisenhammer could receive his shoulder lapels. National anthem and flying of the flag, the whole 9 yards. I just loved it. My uniform now looked more important than ever, and I couldn't wait to show it off to my girlfriend at the time, Sabine. Now that my standing with middle management had been firmly established for the rest of my term, it was smooth sailing. I was even able to get access and exclusive use of our building's upper level, where I had ample room to build model airplanes, a hobby I enjoyed at the time, while others defended the country. During my remaining term, there were 2 more military exercises where newest technology was introduced. I just loved watching what the tanks were able to do. One day, I even got to go in one of these battle machines at the Grafenwöhr US training facility. What a ride! NATO forces had a joint operation at the time. What impressed me the most about the Canadian team was their friendliness and the fact that their kitchen tent was open 24/7, opposed to our German one, which had strict opening and closing hours. While I was waiting for the general, they invited me in and I had my first peanut butter raspberry jelly sandwich. What a treat. The highlight for a 19-year-old soldier, however, was when I drove the general to a helicopter pad from which he wanted to inspect his troops. As I pulled beside the chopper with its rotors in motion, ready for takeoff, he said, "Driver, park the jeep. You're coming with me. If you have to barf, however, get out first. Do we have an understanding?" I was as shocked as I was gloating. The 45-minute inspection tour was an experience extraordinaire and the cherry on top of my army life. I was a happy soldier and again ended my term in style. Now I was ready to show the world what I was made of.